All right, we are live. We're going to wait for a few seconds there. Welcome, everybody. Good evening, wherever you may be watching us from. We are just waiting for a couple of seconds here, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. Hi, Jackie. How you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing better. I had
Good.
just recovered from COVID the first time I got it last week. Well, not this week, but last week. So I went through it for my first time.
Oh, that
I
was your
mean,
first time.
yeah, that was my first time. I really have been taking precautions and everything, and there's been some other times where people around me had tested positive, and for some reason I would test negative, but this time it got me.
Oh my
This time
goodness.
it
I
got
had
me.
it. I already had COVID three times.
Really? Oh my
Three times
gosh.
I got it, and this past couple of weeks, folks, it has been challenging for me health wise. I have issues with my lungs. It's been really challenging, but today I feel a lot better. Today is actually the first day that I feel actually much better.
That's
You
great
know,
to
it's been a
hear.
struggle, but look, we're gonna have challenges, and I'm just glad that I'm here and I'm able to breathe, and that we are able to be on the show. We apologize that we have not been consistent this couple of weeks, but it was due to our health issues that we are experiencing.
Yeah, definitely. And I just want to let you all know, I didn't get the paid sick time for COVID specifically because Congress in California no longer have it. Which was really one of those things where it made me realize, right? Like, COVID is not over. Even though our government wants to kind of call the emergency off, but that doesn't mean that our paid sick time shouldn't be guaranteed. This virus is here to stay. We should be having more protections for workers, more paid sick time. And I called Jimmy Gomez and I called my local representative to talk about it because to me, it's not only for myself, it's really for everybody. At the same time, if we're going to be having COVID, you said you had it 3 times. Imagine that. We get sick on the regular from flus and colds and whatever else health issues we have, and then plus this new virus, like we should be having paid protections, paid
Exactly.
sick leave
I
protections.
mean, during COVID, there's many people that lost their jobs. Jobs actually, you know, had were forced to close down and never reopen. And there's
Right.
people that lost their jobs. With that, they lost their health insurance because
That too.
this is why this is so important. Why we advocating for healthcare for all.
Mhm.
Jackie, you know that your insurance, your health insurance, is tied up to your job.
Yeah.
No job, no health insurance. Something's wrong with that picture.
Yeah, and I mean, passing this pandemic, we should have had politicians fight for that. And quite honestly, I was presenting at the neighborhood councils around LA with Sean. He was one of the members from the healthcare committee from DSA, and we were going around talking to different neighborhood councils. And what struck me is that some of the conservative, more conservative neighborhood councils actually understood the issue and they voted unanimously in favor of supporting CalCare. So many folks, realized no matter what political spectrum that this is really necessary for everybody. And I think not passing healthcare for all is really showing that politicians are not listening to the community because the community really does believe in it and wants it.
Right. Well, Jackie, what's really interesting about this whole thing, and not only with healthcare, you take a look at every major issue that affects communities, that affects families. Every single issue, whether it's healthcare, housing,
Hmm.
education, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, is pretty much all have been politicized. And this is
Yeah.
why nothing gets done. We're going to be hearing about immigration for decades to come,
Yeah.
and nothing's going to be done. Why? Because they have politicized the problem, meaning that the only time that is important and relevant is when election times comes,
Yeah.
the election
Yeah.
cycle. Then they get elected because if you notice, both parties have held pretty much power at one time or another, and
Yeah.
both parties have done nothing about these issues that is
Hmm.
affecting all of us.
Yeah. And even with that, Joe Biden has not really improved the conditions for a lot of immigrants, even though they said they would. So when it comes to that too, you're like, okay, how much better is this immigration policy? And we also know that from human trafficking victims who are immigrants trying to come to this country, and they're trafficked through their labor or even sexually sometimes. And
Right.
those kinds of issues show us that when it comes to solving human trafficking issues, exploitation of labor, and things like that, immigration is super important. We have to really pay attention to immigration policy, not only for folks who are undocumented and come here and not human trafficked, but also taking in mind that immigration policies really do have correlate with human trafficking issues.
Exactly. You are watching Stand Up Fight Back, where we discuss strategy and analysis for the progressive movement. We are here every Sunday, 7 o'clock Pacific time, 10 o'clock Eastern time. We're going to be joined by a couple of guests tonight. We have Michelle Byrne, who is the president of the Feel the Burn Democratic Club in San Fernando, and also Betty Dumas, who is an advocate for housing, and housing is a human right. So they're going to be joining us. I just wanted to break a little bit and
Yeah.
let you guys know that that's coming up. So don't go nowhere. We really appreciate you tuning in and sharing the post and just being able to be here with us. We do this because we don't get paid by doing this. We do this out of the good of our hearts, because we know that this is the right thing to do. Is be able to share and communicate to the people, and just share ideas and what is the feeling in our communities. That's one thing that we do. That's one thing, as Jackie was saying, she has been going around the neighborhood councils, having meetings and just greeting people and meeting people and advocating, and being able to communicate those things. This is what keeps us strong and that keeps us together, and not only that, but inspire us, right? Inspire others to get involved. Is that we can no longer just be sitting down on an spectator. We gotta get involved. We gotta participate.
Yeah, and honestly, building coalitions or being part of a coalition is so important because when we really find that common ground and we come in force together, it's going to be so much better than being in silos. It really affects us when we're in silos and we don't find some commonalities to join together and fight. And I just want to say I'm so excited to have Michelle Verne and Betty because I have known them for a while and they're such strong advocates. They're amazing and they have so much knowledge. And they always honestly are almost in every fight that I see them. So really excited for them to come on and hear what they have to say today.
Exactly. Well, what's interesting, Jackie, is because no matter where you go, no matter where you turn, there's things going on all the time.
All the
In
time,
in
anywhere,
so many
everywhere.
different areas that it's hard to keep up with all this stuff. You know, and there are a few people that are so committed to the movement. And when I say the movement, I'm talking about the issues. We're
Yeah.
not talking about being some kind of radical that just makes noise. We're talking about a movement. We're talking about those people that actually get down and dirty, that they're going to
Yeah.
be there with the people, fighting for the people, advocating, going to meetings, creating opportunities so that we can push the agenda of the people forward. Those are few that exist. You
Yeah.
know, you have a lot of talkers, you have a lot of naysayers, you have a lot of doubters, you have a little of everything. But I tell you that the people that I meet sometimes, they're so impressive because they give themselves, uh, their lives. They give their lives for the cause, for the
Mhm.
cause of those issues that they believe about. And this is what show is all about: is being able to connect you to those issues that interests you, and pretty much share what some people are doing about these things.
One thing I have to mention that a lot of the times when we say, the freedoms that we have in this country, we always talk about the military, but we never ever talk about the freedom and all of the things that we have because of activists like Betty and Michelle, like activists like you. We never really talk about that. We say all these freedoms that we have, all thanks to the military, and I'm like, well, paydays, labor issues, tenants' rights, so many things that we have, even healthcare, the incremental stuff. But even then, we still have a lot of the stuff that we do, the freedoms that we do because of activists, endlessly, always trying to fight and fight here domestically for us to
Right.
have a little more and a little more, and to really fight to gain those civil rights, to gain those rights that we all really need. So I just wanted to say that because I feel like we are a very militarized country, and we usually never talk about the people at the forefront of these political battles that really have made such meaningful movements for us to get to where we are, and continuing to do that. Because as we see, when we're not strategical, when we don't have folks voting, when we don't have folks organizing, we may lose a lot of these rights. And I just want to say, Carlos, like right now too, I see a lot of folks, Gen Z, and just everyone coming together, trying to advocate for gun control, especially after the shooting that happened in Asheville. And I also see a lot of folks in Gen Z that honestly give me hope, fighting for trans rights in a lot of these same states where also abortion has been restricted or illegal. So when I look at folks really connecting together, and I see young people, there is going to be a movement so strong and people coming out to vote in bigger numbers because of all of these issues that we see that are threatening to our society and our well-being. So I just wanted to say that because when we talk about who's at the forefront of those freedoms, it's going to be folks like us who are really there.
Exactly. And and look at right now the country has been in such a despair, in such a not only economically decline, but we also have seen that the moral values of the people, the convictions, the integrity, all those things has been out the window. I'm mainly talking about leadership in Washington. Those people that are
Hmm.
supposed to be our leaders, all that is in decline. We have representation without representation. And by
Yeah.
that, I mean that they say they represent us, but they don't. Because
Hmm.
the people that they represent, or the ones that they are representing, is big money, is the interest of the oil companies, the insurance companies, the banks, Wall Street, etc. So we are pretty much left out with no representation. This is why we have to fight. I don't think that we don't wake up in the morning and say, "Oh, I just want to give up all my free time to these
No.
things." We're doing it out of necessity,
Yeah.
out of pure necessity. So, with that, you're seeing what's happening right now in Washington. There is an indictment right now that is looming, and we're going to see a lot of theatrics happening, especially when it comes to the Republican Party. We see how quickly they move to try to protect Donald Trump, who is facing criminal charges, and that's just one of the places where he's facing criminal charges over in New York. But there's still other cases and more serious cases actually. And for a party that pretends to be for law and order, it just really shows their colors.
Hmm.
Now, the minute that they being investigated, when they are being looked at as the criminals, all of a sudden, oh, they cry that, oh, I'm being targeted, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden the FBI is bad, the Department of Justice is bad, the police is bad,
And they're corrupt and all this
right?
other stuff.
But
Yeah.
any other time is, oh, we support the blue, we back the blue, and all this other stuff. They're full of baloney. They don't.
It's
They
only
use
when they only want the law applied to all of us and not them. I mean, I mean, it's really evident, right? And the other thing that I have to say about that too, they were kind of like, oh, why did it take so long for them to come up with these accusations? Well, no, those accusations were already there. But if people really understand how court cases work and all of that, you would really realize that it takes a while for lawyers and some of the folks that to really gather that evidence. So there's no way to wiggle out of it. The
Right.
better you build your case, it may take a little longer, but the better you build your case, the stronger evidence you have to show that to the court. And I think that is so much better than just having rushed to find anything on him. Instead, they took their time, and that's great because we want as much evidence as possible so Trump and his cronies cannot try to find a way to get out of it. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, you know what's interesting, what really strikes me about this whole thing is, some of the talking points that they're using, such as that Department of Justice has been weaponized.
Right.
That the Democrats are weaponizing, all the different institutions. Well, excuse me, isn't that what you have done all this time, Republicans?
Hmm.
Isn't that what you're doing right now with Congress? That you are weaponizing against, what this district attorney is doing in New York? You're using that as a weapon? You know what I mean? Because you have power. Now you're doing exactly the same things that you are crying about. So it's all garbage what we're hearing. If the man is innocent, let him go to court. Let him fight his case. Does he
Yeah.
need mama? That he needs to go under, running to mama, you know what I mean, to get help? All he's doing right now is raising funds.
Yeah,
That's all
yeah,
he's doing. And we
I mean,
say
it's
that,
honestly a scheme. It really
of
is a
course.
scheme because a lot of the times too, they're like, "Well, if Joe Biden had something to do, you would defend him too." I'm like, "No, I would not defend him if he is
Exactly.
guilty." I don't
Exactly.
think, and the difference is too, um, it's just fanaticism, you know,
Right.
because I mean, I don't even see people who voted for Biden having flags about him, having hats on him. Like, it was honestly just a vote because it's him or Trump, and a lot of people were like, "Well, let's just have Biden
Right.
right now." So in many ways, nobody's fanatic about Joe Biden, and I
Exactly.
feel like a lot of the times we would be like, "Okay, sure, go ahead and investigate whoever needs to be investigated." That
Exactly.
really is not it's not a problem.
I'm gonna say it like this. If Bernie Sanders was being investigated for something, I say let him investigate.
Yeah, let him
I don't
investigate,
care
see
who
what
it
happens.
is, people.
Me neither.
What do you think? But when you go and protect this scumbag, this scammer, you know what I mean? This
Yeah,
good for
that's
nothing,
dangerous.
very dangerous billionaire. He's got the money. Why is he asking for money? You know what
I
I
don't
mean?
even think he's got the money.
Well,
I
yeah.
think that's kind of the part of the lie
But
that he
so
pretends to be
again,
rich.
so this is why I don't get it with some people. Why are you gonna go support this guy that has shown his colors over and over again? You
You know,
know.
I think it's because
Anyways,
that's how they are. I think it's a reflection of them. Especially because when Trump started being very hateful and saying things that a lot of people wish they could say, it gave them an avenue of being like, "Oh, this guy's just like me. I understand his language." And you listen to some of those interviews that sometimes I see on TikTok with some of the some like his name was Walterson or something like that. He has some interviews that he has for Trump people, and I think the part that gets to me is that these people really are like Trump. They believe in Trump, and they want someone who looks like them, talks like them,
right,
does everything like them to represent them. They're really trying to desperately grab onto this image of America. Right before the 1960s, some guy said like, "Oh, I really would want it to be everything like before the civil rights." And the guy asked him, "What do you mean? Do you mean before everyone else had rights?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, I think so. That'd be a great time. That was a great time." So there really are. There's really no secret. You know what I mean? Like, they really are explicit about it. They want us to not have rights, and they like Donald Trump because it reflects them.
right. Well, it's we're gonna see a lot more of that, and that's bound to happen, and we expected them to push back and to pretty much say that Donald Trump is a victim.
Yeah.
He has been the oppressor for such a long time. Every words that he came out of his mouth is like, lock her up. I'm not a Hillary supporter. I'm not. But remember everything that he used to say?
Yeah.
Everything came back to haunt him. Everything. He wanted everybody locked up. He wanted everybody investigated. Well, sir, they investigated you and you're a criminal. And you are a
100%.
criminal. You got caught. And
Yeah.
anyways, so that's another story. But listen, we have with us our beautiful sisters, Michelle Byrne, president of Democratic Club, San Fernando, Feel the Byrne Democratic Club of San Fernando, and of course, Betty Dumas, our good friend Betty Dumas, Housing is a Human Rights. Amazing. We are here to welcome you. Uh, Thank you for being with us. I know that there's a lot to talk about. Jackie, any questions or any other introductions that you want to say about them before we turn over to them?
Yeah, I just have to say, it's always been great to be able to be in the presence of Michelle and Betty. They have such high spirit and are always there to really bring on the fight. So, hi, everyone, and welcome.
Thanks, Jackie.
Hi, thanks, Jackie. Always a pleasure to hang with you and talk with you. Great champion of healthcare and many other social justice issues. And Carlos, I know he always forgets what name to call me, even though we're like know each other for long. He's like, should I call her Betty? Should I call her Faye? Should I call her Toto? Call her Dumas? And I confuse everybody by putting like different names on different like social media accounts, so people like all
Right.
confused.
Well, just let
But
us
your
know.
face is very recognizable. We know who you are.
Mhm.
Yeah, that
Jackie,
person.
I still have your bags, by the way.
Oh, yes, I will get that at some point. Thank you for taking care of that for me.
Say hello to everybody, Michelle.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Michelle Verne, president of Feel the Burn San Fernando Valley Democratic Club. And yes, we do have a lot to talk about. Should I get started, Carlos, or?
Why not? You got the
Yeah.
mic.
So this upcoming Saturday, we have our 4th anniversary celebration for Feel the Burn San Fernando Valley. Can't believe it's been 4 years. And it will be here in West Hills at the new Feel the Burn hub. And we will have special video appearances by 2024 presidential candidate Marianne Williamson, journalist and national director of Roots Action, and Bernie delegate 2016 and 2020 Norman Solomon, and Nina Turner, which I will make that announcement tomorrow. And we will have some candidates that are running in upcoming elections that will be speaking, and some elected candidates. So we would like everybody to join us. And it's also a volunteer of the year award ceremony. And we do have nominees that will be contacted tomorrow, letting them know they've been nominated and inviting them to the event. And then we are also honoring our Volunteer Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, which is Hanaya Jodat.
Wow.
And Carlos, last year you were the Lifetime Achievement Award winner. I'm hoping that this year you could come and actually present Hanaya with her award for this year.
It will be an honor to do that. It will actually be an honor. I mean, so much work that she does that really inspires all of us. And, how she has been able to connect all the different groups, all the different leaders, and also represent us well here in Southern California. So, I cannot think of a better person to recognize during your event. Thank you for all the work that you guys do at Feel the Burn Democratic Club in San Fernando. You guys are amazing because you're not only helping lift the issues, you're lifting people as well. You're lifting our leaders. You're building community.
Yes, we think it's really important. This event is really important to us because it's the volunteers really deserve to be honored, and they never get the recognition. They often go unseen. So I love to do this. The e-board, this is our favorite event. And we also make it a fundraiser. We need money. We are a grassroots club, and we are action based, and we're always out in the streets fighting for issues, particularly healthcare for all, and now justice for renters, which Betty will be talking about in a minute. Our volunteers, they work hard. They last year they went and they canvassed for a lot of progressive candidates, Karen Bass, Pilar Schiavo. They won their seats. And they also take it to the streets and educate the communities about healthcare for all and CalCare. And they really do a lot of work, and they deserve to be recognized. So we make it a strictly volunteer award event. So the e-board does not get to be chosen for an award. And we decided to make September 8th a e-board and a founder of the year event, so that we can be recognized also. And that will be coming up in September. And I just hope everybody will come. Is there any way I can get a link, Carlos, or anything out to everybody? I have a link.
Send it to me, and we will make sure that we put the link in here. And we're going to be promoting. We're going to help promote this this event, and making sure that people know about it. But that's one thing that we like to do is be able to share amongst the different groups, progressive groups, and other groups as well. We are not limited to progressives. I mean, our voice, is really for the people. We represent the people. We speak, about the issues that all of us are impacted by. And I think that your club is doing exactly that. You do it well, and we commend you for that.
Yeah, I agree. Also, Betty, this year coming up, we will be focusing on CalCare, which has been reintroduced. And a new bill will be heading to the assembly next year, and we will be campaigning for CalCare, and also justice for renters. And I'll let Betty talk about that. But then also we do have a ballot initiative that we are trying to get off the ground underneath CalCare, to let them know that we, if CalCare doesn't go through, we're taking it to the people. We're going to do whatever we can to get this, to get healthcare for all, because it is something that we need, and we've been fighting for decades, and we need it now.
Yeah, tell us more about that. Jackie, I know that you're very involved with that as well, with the CalCare. Maybe this is a good time for us to keep this conversation and put focus on CalCare. Go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah, so CalCare was introduced again by Ash Kalra. And this one, I think it's AB 1690. And basically, it tries to advocate for healthcare for all of us, and not just citizens, but also undocumented people. And that is one of the crucial parts about this bill too, that it includes all the types of services that we need. And as we talked about with the COVID pandemic, we should have been able to have politicians that actually understood that problem, especially Gavin Newsom, given that he did run on single payer. So we want him to keep true to his word that he would sign and advocate for single payer. And the bill is here, it's CalCare. So we have to keep going and keep fighting to get him to really understand that he's going to be held accountable for this. And this is something that we all want in California. So it's time for that to happen.
Okay. So what exactly, so we know the bill has been introduced. Can you take us a little bit, any of you, as to what are some of the steps that needs to take place, and how is it that we want people to get involved? Are there some timelines? Are there some specific dates that we need to look at? What does it look like? What is the map looking like?
Sure, I'll take that a little bit. So the bill has been reintroduced, but it isn't fully fleshed out yet.
Mm-hmm.
the bill will have all of what we believe to be, we expect to have in a single payer, universal single payer bill for the state of California. However, I guess if you want to call it a strategy or the path that the legislator and the key sponsors of the bill, who are the California Nurses Association, are taking this time around, is to be able to allow the other legislators in our state legislation, to actually ask questions. Those questions might be answered in language, in the way that the language is written, to be able to have a say in certain what they need, a say to a degree as to what they want to see in that, and to hopefully for the betterment of the bill. And it's to really build a coalition behind the bill to have a strong support when it does finally come for a vote. So what that means is this particular year is a huge year to lobby your representatives, make sure that they are talking to Ash Kalra, make sure Ash Kalra is talking to your representative, and make sure they're on board with this. Next year is when the bill will be fleshed out, and that's when it will start to go through its committee hearings, and then finally for a vote, hopefully, go for a vote in the committees, and then also a floor vote, and go and make it out of the assembly and onto the Senate. Right now, what I have heard is that Ash Kalra will be taking this on the road in California and doing town halls throughout the state. He's going to start with his district up in Northern California, and he's asking and speaking to other legislators to try to get them to, have a town hall in their area. So I think that people should be in contact with their state assembly person and ask them to say, listen, Ash Kalra is coming to, I want to hear what he has to say. The community should be able to hear what he has to say about this bill. I am pro this bill. I would like to have a town hall on this, and have him invited in to do a town hall in your area. So that's what that is happening on the legislative end of it. For the activists who are helping out, for the independent, I would say, organizations that have been for single payer, are all doing some sort of, campaigning for this. CNA has launched their canvassing, that they're doing door to door and crowd canvassing and supplying all of the literature and signage and all that kind of stuff and support. They did one weekend of action last week. It was pretty successful. They had about 47 events across the state. They're going to be continuing that supported one at least once a month. The next one will be at the end of April, and then again at the end of May in different assembly districts across the state. But however, they're telling other activists who really want to keep it going, if they want to table anywhere, if they want to do crowd canvassing, that they'll at least have the literature and things for them. But they won't do the extra support, which would be, basically having a paid organizer, to call up, like on that particular weekend they have it scheduled. But so that's moving forward with CalCare. There are different organizations like DSA Healthcare Justice group is very, very active in getting CalCare passed. There's Hollywood for CalCare. There's Healthcare for Us, which is doing a great job with, even on KPFK on Thursday nights, and Jackie can remind me of exactly when. They're doing a program on CalCare and single payer pretty much every week. So you should tune into that too. So there's a lot of activity around that. But Michelle had mentioned that there is also folks that are trying to work on a ballot initiative. There's different thoughts If we do get a ballot initiative off the ground at the same time the CalCare bill is in the process, it could help to enhance that bill and make sure that that bill is what we want it to bill, especially if the ballot initiative is very, robust and even more, has, a lot more than what we would have actually in the bill. Right now, we are doing polling for that ballot initiative. It's very important that we have polling to kind of feel what our community, kind of get some answers as to what the community understands about single parent CalCare and type of program, how they would think about possibly being taxed for it, how they would think about what it would mean to Medicare, and to kind of get these ideas. So we, with the ballot initiative, have launched a poll, and we're asking other anybody that can take this poll, take the poll, but also share it with friends and family and co-workers, because what happens is that we don't want to be in a vacuum to get these answers back. We want to get people that we might not necessarily understand or know about it, or have some other understanding that so that we can get our messaging right, and we can do inoculation if we need to do inoculation about our messaging, if we need to change the ballot language in a way that would suit single payer, but also be able to people to understand it more. There's a lot of important things that can come out of a poll. So I'm going to be dropping a link. I actually did drop it on the Facebook, a link for that poll. If you could take that poll yourselves and share, it'd be great. We also did this thing where a group of us got together, and if you know this, or this group, this platform Nextdoor, right? Sometimes Nextdoor could be very,
Oh
quite,
yeah.
they could be quite, say conservative, right?
Hmm.
All different types of people, just neighborhood people, right? But it sometimes can be very conservative. So we decided to drop the poll there,
Great.
and say, hey, what do you think of this? And the questions are: would you vote for a ballot initiative? Would you pay a tax instead of insurance? In lieu of a premium? What would you think of channeling your Medicare uh, funds through the state? These type of questions that we should have answered, and at least because we want to make sure the messaging is right and the education is there. So I dropped a link to that. If anybody that's listening wants to take it, if anybody wants, and please share it. If you want to make your own Nextdoor account, or if you have one, drop it there, because I think we'll get a good other, a broader idea of what people believe and think. So, that's me on CalCare, but I will also talk on justice for renters. But I'm gonna take a pause to let other people have a chance to to talk.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Betty.
Carlos, I also texted you the ballot
Yes, we
poll,
go ahead.
and I also texted you the CalCare petition. There is a CalCare petition that they're
Right.
having.
We are posting those on the comment section of this broadcast, so you could take a look in there, and on your own time, you can go ahead and fill out some of the polls and the different information that is being put out here. But we're also going to be posting it individually on our pages as well. Jackie?
I, I do want to say thank you, Betty, so much for all of that information. And I also wanted to share the Instagram that you all can follow, because a lot of the events and a lot of the announcements for the radio is also online. It's also on Instagram. So the account for Instagram is HC for us, and then underscore ORG. So that will show you a lot of, if you're interested in really following and being involved, this Instagram will show you a lot of the upcoming events, which one of them is on April 5th. 7 through 9:30 p.m. It's going to be at a bar, Lawless Brewery at North Hollywood. And this is a chance to meet other folks in your area who are also interested in being involved in healthcare for all. And that's where you can also learn. There are meetups going on, and Betty mentioned the radio, which it usually is on, I believe it is on Thursdays. Let me make sure that I'm saying that correctly. But it is on 90.7 FM. And if you also don't have time to really tune in during the radio time, on the website hc4us.org, you can find the recorded times, the recorded videos, and all that is also going on with that conversation on that website.
Wow, a lot of information is being put out. I mean, this is
Yeah.
good because this is how we all get to know what's going on. I know that I got to give a shout out. I just have to give a shout out to the people out there in San Gabriel Valley that are such a great advocates for healthcare for all. You have Dennis and the whole entire group out there that really take it to heart. And I see them out there. I see them on events. I see them at the fair. I see them at farmers markets. I see them everywhere. So shout out to the group out there in San Gabriel Valley for the work that they are doing. You guys are amazing. But there are others as well.
And Feel the Burn San Fernando Valley, of course. But
Yes.
we will be doing a lot of stuff for CalCare outside of the normal stuff, the canvassing. We'll do car caravans, and we'll even hold up light signs that say "Do you CalCare?" and pass out flyers and send postcards to get everybody involved and educated on CalCare. And if you want to join our great club, you can go to feeltheburn.sfv.org and get involved. All the information about us is there. And like I said, come to the event this Saturday. You can learn more about it on our website. And at the link I gave you, Carlos, you can get tickets. And we're going to have a raffle with some great prizes and games with some prizes. And it should be a lot of fun. So yeah, please join us. Betty, did you want to go ahead with Justice for Renters or?
I would like to, but I want to, Carlos and Jackie, give me the okay to start my spiel on
I just have
justice.
one more. I just have one more thing to ask Jackie. Actually, Jackie, I know that you do a lot of TikTok, especially for for healthcare for all, for CalCare. How can people find you on TikTok?
Yeah, let me give you the handle for that. And it is a work in progress because at first we were like, are they really going to ban TikTok? So we were just not sure what was going to happen to TikTok anymore. But the TikTok is pretty much the same as Instagram. So you can look for us at HC for us underscore org. So ORG. And we're still up and running. TikTok is not banned yet. So we're going to be creating a lot more stuff. We were just kind of a little bit on the hesitancy of doing more work when we didn't know what was going to happen. But
Yeah. All
for
right.
now,
So,
we're still here.
yes. All right. So that's beautiful. Thank you, Jackie. I just want to make sure because I know you put a lot of effort into that, and I seen some of the videos that you create. Is like you're so talented all the way around. It's like you guys are too much. But this is what activists do, right? We learn to do stuff, and if we don't have
Innovating.
volunteers, we learn to do it ourselves. So
Yeah.
whatever it's going to take. Now, with that, we're going to go ahead and turn it back to you, Betty, that you wanted
Yeah. Good
to share
transition.
the good information regarding renters. What's going on with the renters?
All right. Okay. Yeah. Justice for renters. Well, for me, I, I, talking about wearing a lot of hats, and we all do as activists, especially in social justice activists and advocates, we wear different hats. We work intersectionally with different issues. And I do work on issues for renters and tenants' rights and homeless issues, which are totally interconnected. That story is definitely interconnected there. So I want to talk to you a little bit about Justice for Renters, which is going to be a ballot initiative on the 2024 ballot. Right now, we are in the stages of collecting signatures, but according to what our projections are, we may be 2 months early on collecting all 880,000 signatures. So we're doing very well on collecting signatures. And this is Justice for Renters is for rent control in the state of California. And what that means is it will eliminate the California statewide ban on rent control, which was put in place in 1995 by the Costa-Hawkins Act. So basically, what the Costa-Hawkins Act did was said that no longer can we have rent control in the state of California for any houses or homes or rental properties from 1995 and and beyond, right? So no rent control could be on there at all. That's what it said. But for cities like Santa Monica, Los Angeles, San Francisco, okay, and think about these cities when it comes to homelessness, okay, they already had rent control on the books, okay, but they said, well, those areas cannot have any rent control on any kind of rental property from basically mid 1970s till now. So so basically when you think about how many unhoused people we have and you think about the cities that are in the worst state, in our state of California, the worst conditions for homelessness, it is those cities that really cannot expand rent control. They don't have rent control. And as you know, we have market rate housing that has flooded these areas. And that market rate housing, doesn't have any rent control whatsoever. And a lot of these, what has happened is a lot of developers, put these housing complexes up, and they are these rental properties up, and they're, investment properties basically for people, and not really developed for people to live. It doesn't matter if they fill those up to rent out. It doesn't really matter if they lay empty. It's better if they just keep renting the units at the higher market rate rather than lower the rates. And we have an impossible situation here in California with our unhoused. Yes, there are people that are unhoused that have addiction issues. Yes, there are people that have mental health issues, but there's also a lot of people who have drug addiction and mental health issues that have housing too. I mean, this is not the whole of the problem. There are many more families that are becoming unhoused, and are unhoused. You might not be in that way that you see people with a tent on the street. These are people that with unstable, and you can talk to people at LAUSD that they'll talk and say they're students. They can know what students don't have a house, that sleep on someone else's couch, maybe from week to week or month to month, really not knowing stability of where they're going to be living. There was a Zillow report that said for every 5% increase in rent, 2,000 people in Los Angeles will fall into homelessness. These are not all drug addicted people. These are not all people that have mental illness, though I would argue that being on the street and having to live in those conditions, you would really have some mental health issues after having to do that, even for a short period of time. This is the state of things. So Justice for Renters will allow different municipalities. It's not a statewide mandate. Basically what it says, for the city of Los Angeles, if they need to change their rent control and they want to expand it, they can do so. For the city of Santa Monica, so the city of San Francisco, for any other cities, Pomona, so forth, they can expand it. They're allowed to do that. So it basically gets rid of Costa-Hawkins, that what has happened there. If in a community for some reason is, doesn't have issues or something, and everything's good the way it is or something, then they don't do it, right? They don't do it. This is it's to allow us to make these changes in order to make life more affordable here, in California. So I had put in the chat for a way for you to endorse the actual initiative and get involved, and so we could contact you in a way for your organization to get involved and and endorse the initiative. We will be doing a full blown campaign once all the signatures are gathered, but we also will in advance of that be going around and doing tabling in town halls and other informational events for Justice for Renters, and we could come to your organization and talk to you about it as well.
Thank you,
Wow.
Betty. Thank you for all of that. I think, in particular, when we talk about housing, you mentioned some of the very important things that people usually talk about, like mental illness and addiction. And as you mentioned, sometimes the trauma of being out there is what causes some of those issues. And here in my neighborhood, actually, right in front of me, there's a family who parks in front of another family member's house and has like a trailer, and they're living in there. I've seen them coming in and out, and it looks like they take showers at their family's place, but they live in their trailer. And as you mentioned, it's not always tense. It's really situations like this, and it's one of those things where you wonder, right? Like what happened? And a lot of the times it is people who are being evicted, and now that the eviction protections are ending, it's gonna get worse.
Hmm.
And I think part of the solution is our rent control. And then that's kind of how we want to prevent like a whole issue of people being evicted happening and ensuring that people stay in their homes. And then I think when people talk about like, oh, we can't just do rent control because we need more housing, it's like, yes, we can do first, the rent control to really prevent the avalanche of evictions happening. But also we are advocating for social or public housing that is also well kept. I'm not gonna get into the whole issue of what people talk about when they say, oh, the projects were horrible, because honestly, that housing was made for people of color and they did not make it to last. What we are talking about when we talk about social public housing, we're talking about buildings that are up to par, that are in good conditions, and that are going to be better than what a lot of landlords provide. And many times, like I even have issues still with my water pipes and stuff here in this building. And when we talk about those kinds of things, all the type of back and forth that people want to say, like the market could fix itself, it's not happening, and it's not going to happen because developers are coming into neighborhoods to gentrify in a way that is not for people living there, that is for newcomers to rent. And I've seen thousands of comments. As Betty mentioned, the next door, I look on next door to kind of gauge like where people are at, and a lot of people need the education. They need
Hmm.
the education to understand that just saying that, oh well, people are willing to pay for this neighborhood because the landlord somehow kind of fixed it. You know how like when someone moves out,
Hmm.
the landlord usually renovates the room or whatever, but it still doesn't add up, because at one point, when the working class is not able to afford housing, no matter how much money someone else can bring, that that family is still displaced. So they have to be somewhere, and the jobs are here in LA. So telling people to just move and find somewhere else to live, it's not reality. We have to be tied up to reality. And with that, advocating for rent control and then also advocating for more housing through social and public housing is how we can ensure that people are going to be able to have somewhere affordable to live.
Right.
Absolutely, Jackie. The thing is that you know there there are YIMBYs out there. And I'll
Yeah.
say, yes, in my backyard. And yes, in my backyard are all about build, 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 build. They're not
Hmm.
about building affordable.
Right,
They're not
right.
about building sustainable public housing. Okay.
Right.
They're not about that.
Hmm.
Okay. And anybody who calls themselves a YIMBY and that are for public housing are a little bit confused. Okay. It's yes, we want to build that housing, but that's not really what the YIMBYs want to do.
Right.
They want uh, uh, what they call trickle down, what I call trickle down.
Yeah, I've seen
Okay, which
that.
is basically like, okay, if we build more market rate, then eventually it'll trickle down to those
Mhm.
people that are lower income, and they'll get. I said, so when is this going to trickle down? 10
Right.
Right.
years, 15
Yeah.
years, 20 years? What are you talking about?
Yeah,
We
I've
need
seen that.
affordable housing,
Right.
I've
okay?
seen
And
Well,
that
we
argument.
need it now.
we know that trickle down economics don't work.
Trickle
They have
down
never
nothing
worked.
works like that.
It's just pretty much, a make believe thing. Trickle down doesn't work. Period. Period.
And the
If you
mixed type of buildings don't really work either.
right.
We really need affordable housing.
You
I
know,
mean, you see, once they put up the prices on these houses, they're not gonna go down.
no,
They go down a little bit, but then they go back up.
Mm-mm.
And so it's a scam. It's make believe. People are hurting out there. I don't have an idea how people make it. You
I don't
know,
get it either.
Yeah,
when
I
they
know.
pay rent, the price of transportation, food, clothing, any extra bills that you may have. How in the world are people making it?
And Carlos, if I just may also say, a lot of folks will always say like, "Oh, we'll move to another state where it's cheaper." Well, let me tell you, a lot of these states that are cheaper are right now having issues with people trying to move
Right.
out of those states because of trans aggression, because of abortion, being illegal. So a lot of the people in a lot of those red states are trying to come to a state where they're not going to be prosecuted in the way that they are. So we're also going to be seeing a lot of people moving out of those states,
Well,
which
what is
means
right?
we need to improve our conditions here.
What is really interesting is that a lot of people that were moving, like for example, Texas, all of
Mhm.
a sudden, listen to this, folks, listen to this because this is real. Yes, Texas, the rent was cheaper, but all of a sudden, all these people moving to Texas, to Austin, or whatever, guess what happened? The rent went up
Yeah.
and up and up.
Mhm.
And people are really pissed off out there because they cannot afford housing now. They have a
Mhm.
problem out there. Then they have traffic. They have all these other conditions that come with the social ills that exist because of
Right.
greed. And I say because of greed because that's all it is. Because people that bought apartments, let's say you have an apartment, you own an apartment since the 80s, there's no need for you to be raising the rent because your mortgage still the same, right? So
Yeah.
so all this that, oh well, I have to raise the rent because I have to keep up with what? With the Jones, because now you want to have more money in your pocket. You're already making money, so you're just trying. People, a lot of these landlords are trying to use the excuse to raise the rent because of the economy and this and that. And the fact of the matter is that they still pay the same mortgage when they first
That's
signed up there, right?
That is right. That is
Mhm.
exactly right. Their fee, their for the most part, their expenses are fixed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, their
Mhm.
expenses are fixed. Okay, they probably will. Okay, they always want to put in California Apartments Association. Always, fights and opposes rent control all the time. This is
Right.
the third time ballot initiative like Justice for Renters has been on the ballot, and they will go triple the amount of money that anybody could afford for the ballot initiative to pose it. And
Right.
they always put up like pushing forward the mom and pop, the mom and pop.
Right. That's what I was gonna say, Betty, because
Okay.
that's always the argument.
The people, you know what? Really, I have to say that there are mom and pops out there that do mom and pop business, right? They
right.
do mom and pop business, and for the most part, those people are not raising the rents. I have to think. I think that I really feel it. Maybe I'm wrong,
They're
but
not
if
doing
you
as bad. Yeah, they're not
okay,
that
they're
good.
not really. But I'm talking. This is a bunch of baloney. Okay,
Right.
these people, they're fixed rent. You know what your mortgage is on a monthly basis, if you even have a mortgage. Okay,
Mhm.
you might
That's
not have
that's
any
another part.
mortgage
Yeah.
anymore.
Right.
Okay, so now you don't have a mortgage. Now, does things fluctuate like the price of repairs and things like that? Yes, they do. But for the most part, it's very fixed and you could budget it and you could work with it, right? You know what, but the thing is with renters, if you're consistently raising their rent and you don't know what the rent's going to be from year to year, and those people are going to be priced out. What do we do? This is, during the pandemic, we have essential workers.
Mm-hmm.
What? They're not essential anymore? They're going to be priced out of living in Los Angeles? Who's gonna do the work of essential
Right.
workers?
Yeah.
You
I
know,
know that, Michelle, you had to recently relocate. You had to move. Tell us a little bit about that experience. It's not easy, correct?
I
You're a lucky one.
I don't know how people are doing it. I'm thinking that most people are lying, are forging paperwork. I'm pretty sure. Um, I mean, the cost of living now and what you have to provide these
Right.
rental
Mhm.
companies in order to stay somewhere is a lot. I mean, you have to be making 3 times what the rent
Yes.
is, and you have to be able to show that. You have to have fair credit. Most
Mhm.
people won't even rent to you unless your credit's over 650. I personally got really really lucky in my situation. I don't know how I did it, but I did. And I think that people are just really really struggling right now, and one of the big things is um in this type of capitalist society, there's so much propaganda that makes people not want to admit how much they're struggling. um
Right.
and they don't want to admit that to their friends or even their family members, or and I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop, and
Mhm.
I think that when it does, it might start another revolution. I don't know how long we can sustain in this capitalist society.
Mhm.
I just it's like I look back because I'm older now, and I remember when I rented an apartment, a single apartment, when I was in my 20s, and I think it was about $625.
Wow.
And to think now how much it is to rent a single, which I think is just probably around, if you're lucky, 12 to 1300 bucks just for one bedroom. I mean, not even a bedroom, just a single, maybe like 300 square feet. And then to rent a two-bedroom, it's like $3,000,
Mhm.
so it's just insanity. And I really don't know how people do it. And I guess they're doing, families are coming together. I'm seeing ADUs built everywhere lately. It looks like people are going to start moving. Their families are going to start coming together and living together, and in
Yeah.
these ADUs. And I mean, yeah, it was very, very difficult. And I'm very lucky that I was able to find a place close to my daughter's school.
Yeah,
She
right.
would have had to change schools and everything. And that's what people are having to do.
Right.
Effective April the 1st, a couple of days ago, the food assistance that 5 million people, Californians, were receiving because of the COVID epidemic came to an end.
Right.
They are being affected somewhere between $89 to $200 that they will not be able to receive anymore.
Wow. That's
And
horrible.
for some people, that may seem like a very small amount of money, but some people, this is serious.
Right.
So what's happening now is we are going to see an increase of the amount of people going to food banks.
Mhm.
If you look at the website of CalFresh, they, in replacement of this, they are referring people to their local food banks. Food banks are struggling. Uh, excuse me, food pantries. Food pantries are struggling to get food. They receive food from the regional food banks. The regional food banks depend on money that comes from grants from federal government, etc. So unless there's money injected in there, immediately we're going to see people affected right away. We've seen that already. First week of April, we're starting to see already lines getting longer at the food banks. So the struggle is real. So if you're struggling in feeding your family, you're most likely struggling to clothe your family. You're struggling to pay bills, your necessities, even your phone bill. You're struggling to put gas in your car, you're struggling to pay the rent. That's what we are looking at, folks. In the meantime, we have people in Washington, instead of fighting for the people, they are there fighting for this criminal. And that's what I'm upset about. It's like, it's ridiculous, people. Their entire focus of our Congress is erroneous, is in the wrong place.
Yes.
We need them to be standing up and fighting for the people.
Yeah, definitely. And I just want to also say that when people tell me, like, I'm just not interested in politics is not for me. Well, your landlords are. And Betty, what was the name of the Renters Association, the landlords?
Uh,
Sorry, not the renters.
I'm sorry.
What was the name of it? The Landlord
The
Association?
Landlord Association.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's California Apartment Owners Association.
There we go. California Apartment Owners Association is a huge coalition, pretty much, of all these landlords coming together, the small mom and pop shops, and
But
also
huge developers.
corporation, yeah, and the
Huge
huge
developers.
developers,
And corporations that own.
and they don't see themselves different. Like, they're not like, well, you know what, I believe in this a little different than you do. No, they stick together and they're like, how do we ensure we protect our interests? And they have a lot of money. They're all together, and this is where we need to be interested in politics, because it does affect us, and we need to build our own coalition. And the website, Betty, can you repeat the website that you are part of right now with the renters' rights?
It's Justice for Renters, and it's about it's we just started our website. It's called Justice for Renters. So you go justiceforrenters.org. I did put it on Facebook for people to go there and take a look of exactly what the ballot initiative is about. I also put the endorsement form, which is a way you can individually or have your organization endorse, and that's a way we could get a hold of you too. And you could, to get more information. The organization that actually is backing this initiative is Housing is a Human Right, which is, we also have a website, and you can contact us through there. We have Facebook, and we're on social media as Housing is a Human Right. Actually, I'm live streaming this on, I shared it to their page as well,
Great.
so that we can get some more eyes on it, so people, can connect. But Justice for Renters is very, very important. But there's people just need to get involved and aware
Yeah.
that like we are doing, like you are doing right now. There's Feel the Burn San Fernando Valley. We are multi-issue and also electoral politics. We're out there. We have our feet on the street doing the work. There are healthcare for us. There's Housing as a Human Right, and then the Justice for Renters Initiative. There's the Poor People's Campaign, California. There's there are a lot of organizations out there that their social justice and the issues of poverty are forefront of what is and intersectional issues as well with that, are working on those issues. So people should just do their best to get involved and connected.
Yeah, because this is where we come in. This is our coalition. This is where we protect our interests,
Mhm.
because the landlords and employers are always going to have their own groups advocating for their own interests. And sometimes we don't have much power when we are not really joining together and really understanding how it is that we fight back. So
Mhm.
those are the ways to fight back. Betty just mentioned all of those great organizations and websites. So please look at that. This is how we ensure that we have power and a voice as well in government, and not just allowing the lobbyists to take over all of our rights and everything that we can fight for. So thank you so much, Betty, for sharing all of that. This is how this is our strategies, how we are able to ensure that we have a voice in what we live through. So politics is for everyone. You're living it every day at your job, where you're living, where you're going to school, everything. So
Everything is, I laugh when people say I'm not into politics. I'm like, well, politics is into you. You
yeah.
don't know how much politics shapes your life,
Mhm.
on a local level, on a state level, on a federal, national level. it has its hand in your life, whether you believe it or not.
Yeah.
And so to become, at least have an awareness and keep yourself aware, um, is important, and to get
100%.
active even more so.
Yeah. Thank you so much, both of you, for all of that you have done and sharing this with us. And Carlos, I'll take it back to you.
Yeah, well, thank you, everybody. It's just being, time flies when you're having fun. You know, it sure does. It's like we already passed the hour. We try to stay within the hour, but look,
Ooh.
there's a lot that we need to say, and I
A
hope
lot.
that you guys, come back again and visit us and be part of these conversations, because there's a lot more that we need to be talking about. But tonight, we want to celebrate our activists, our organizers, everywhere, that are doing great work with these issues that really affects everyone. If it's not for them, then pretty much we'd be in a much more worse situation. But the fact of the matter is that, people are standing up, people are fighting back, people are organizing, educating others. Groups like, again, the Feel the Burn San Fernando Club of San Fernando, right? Feel the Burn Democratic Club of San Fernando. There you go. And many others that are really doing their best. You've been watching Stand Up, Fight Back. We discuss the strategy analysis for the progressive movement. We come to you every Sunday, at least we try to, every Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time, or the other way around, right?
I
I
don't
am
know.
so out of it.
No,
We
you're
here
right.
7 p.m.
The
Pacific
8,
time,
9,
10
10. It's
p.m.
10 p.m. there in the east.
Yes, Eastern time. I got it. But thank you so much for everybody that's been watching and sharing the videos. Any last comments that you would like to say? Any announcements? I'm gonna start with Michelle.
Thanks for having me, Carlos, and hope to see you Saturday. Jackie, you should try to come too, and hope to see everyone Saturday. And let's keep up the fight and keep on moving forward.
Thank you. Betty?
Yeah, thanks for having us. Thanks for having me, letting me tell you all about the initiative and all everything's happening. Please, people, endorse Justice for Renters. Come and volunteer for CalCare. Take the poll. All the information has been dropped on Facebook for you to get connected. Thank you.
Beautiful. Jackie, any last comments?
I mean, I would just say there's always power in numbers. And when we are fighting for these causes, we will win. So please know that whenever you rant on Facebook or anything like that, it's not enough. You have to come with us and do some work here, because all that we struggle is really something that we can fight for. So thank you so much for everyone who is participating already, or those who are trying to find the courage to do so. There's always a space for everybody.
Yes. It has been a pleasure being here tonight. We are glad to be here every Sunday. Please don't forget to share the videos, get involved, participate, talk to your neighbor, find out what's going on in your street. Start with your street. Find out what's going on out there, and don't be afraid. There's a lot of people out there, you'll be surprised, that think just like you and that are
Mhm.
struggling just like you. So we encourage and we help each other, we protect each other. This is what it's all about. So again, good night from Los Angeles.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.